Hey everyone, just want to talk a little bit about chapter 3 and what to expect in this upcoming chapter. For those of you that weren't big fans of the horizontal financial statement that we did in chapter 2, I've got good news for you. We're going to slowly kind of move away from that. We're not going to totally chuck all the concepts we learned in those first two chapters, of course. We are going to kind of move into a new kind of realm of accounting. I guess what you would say the real accounting. We're going to talk about debits and credits in this chapter. So this is what you're going to really kind of dig into. This is going to kind of really solidify the foundation of everything we learned in the first two chapters and start to move us forward for the rest of the class. So this, if I had to pick one chapter in the entire class, this is probably the one that you absolutely have to get down. So the first thing I want to say is when you're talking about debits and credits, I just want you to remember not to get too deep into the, I don't know, what your mindset is and what you think these terms mean. I want you to focus very simply on just two things here to start with. First of all, what does debit mean? Well, in accounting, when we think about debits and credits, debit means left, or what we would refer to as the left side of the T account, which we use as a tool to help us analyze transactions. You'll see tons of examples of what we call T accounts in all the other resources I posted. We're going to use T accounts a lot. So when we refer to debit, debit simply means left, or the left side of that T account. All right. Credit just refers to the right side of the T account. That's it. So debit means left, credit means right. I don't want you to get too caught up. I don't want you to get caught up at all, in fact, in what you think debit means, whether you think it's an increase or a decrease or good or bad or anything like that. The same thing for credit. That's not what those terms mean. In accounting, just think debit left, credit right. The next phase then you'll need to start kind of adjusting to is then looking at accounts and understanding where those accounts fit in all the categories that you learned in chapters 1 and 2. So for instance, if we were dealing with, say, cash is an asset, okay? And then you have to know that assets increase on the debit left side. Now, the opposite would be a liability. Liabilities increase on the credit right side. So now what you have to do is you have to memorize those major categories. Assets increase on the debit left, liabilities increase on the credit right, equity increases on credit right, income increases credit right, expenses debit left. Now I know I went through that really quick. Don't worry, you can see all that in the chapter, and I've got a cheat sheet in there as well for you. But you do have to remember those major categories of which side each increases or decreases. Once you know that, then it's just a matter of knowing which accounts fit where. So for instance, accounts payable. Accounts payable is a liability. And if you know liabilities always increase on the credit right side, you know how that account behaves. And then you can take and put the transaction into its right prospective places, okay? So don't worry, I know this sounds a little overwhelming at first, but you'll start to get this down. But just remember, there's a lot of memorization. It's very mechanical at this point, right? That's all we're worried about. So just remember, it's debit left, credit right, and then just kind of memorize where each increases or decreases. It'll seem overwhelming at first, but the more you work with it, the easier it will get. You need to practice, though. This is not something you're going to get down in 5 minutes or even a half hour. You're going to need to do this over and over and over again. But if you invest the time now, trust me, it will make things so much easier for you through the remainder of the class, okay? This chapter is huge, all right, to get. Don't get overwhelmed. It's going to seem frustrating at first. You're going to feel like you don't know it. You're going to feel like you're drowning in many cases. Don't worry. Just keep practicing, memorize, drill yourself. Again, like I said in chapters 1 and 2, practice, practice, practice. Use the summary practice problems, everything you need to do. Just keep at it. It will get easier, all right? But you cannot leave this chapter feeling lost. If you leave this chapter feeling lost, you're going to be lost in chapter 4, okay? So you need to be with it in this chapter. Invest the time now. Things will get easier later on, all right?